Hey everybody, this is Jimmy at Rocky Mountain Live. Welcome back to the Peak Performer Series. We were doing this series a lot last year, but took a little bit of a break, and we're kicking off 2026 strong. We like to do full-length interviews with great performers around the Rockies, and today I'm joined by Tyler Wood.
How you doing?
Tyler is a country artist who actually just won the Tommy's Unplugged contest hosted by Gary Gonis and the Ramblin' Hey Ho Ha's at Tommy's Neighborhood Pub.
It's true.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's
a very good night. It was a lot of fun. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I was there covering it for Rocky Mountain Live. Yeah, it was. It's always a prestigious award to win around the Bow Valley. It seems like it helps kick off a lot of careers here around the area.
Mhm.
So good job on that. We're gonna start off by reading Tyler Wood's bio here, right on RockyMountainLive.ca. Check it out on the website. So, a local to the Bow Valley of Alberta and originally from Northwest Ontario, Tyler has been playing around the area for a while. He's starting to make quite an impression. He is a singer-songwriter who, with his country flavor, delivers unique covers and mashups along with his own original songs that impress locals and tourists alike. With acoustic and electric guitar, his appearances give a variety of styles that will keep you entertained throughout the performance. Born in Kenora, Wood grew up in Dryden, Ontario. From early beginnings of learning guitar at age 13, he started singing a few years later to add a male vocal at his local church. From that moment on, he has been writing songs and playing music ever since. Wood is now based in Kenora, Alberta, playing all over Kenmore, Banff, and Lake Louise. He is driven to see just how far his music can take him.
Mhm.
What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, I'm still working on it. So thanks very much for that. I've got a single coming out very soon, in about 3 days' time from when we're doing the interview today, and it's called "You're Doing Okay." I've got 3 more songs I plan to release before summer kicks off, and then I am doing an album after that. So, and at the end of this month is when I'm going to Ontario to record that album. So, yeah, very busy.
Very busy guy. So we should start off by thanking Melissa's Mistake. We're sitting here in the beautiful restaurant that hosts Banff's biggest stage right behind the camera there. We got a little bit of a nice backdrop with the mountain view, a little happy hour menu here. So we decided to sit over here for the lighting today. But thanks to Mel's for having us. Come check it out. They got the best breakfast in town. Come have the biggest breakfast in Banff, and you'll be fueled up for the day. So thank you, Mel's, for having us here. And hopefully someday when Tyler's and Tyler Wood Band are ready, you're on Band's biggest stage here.
Yeah, I'd love that actually. That'd be great. Yeah,
I'm sure we'll get you there at some point.
Yeah, working towards it.
Yeah, so next weekend we should also mention is ski touring weekend in Banff. So this comes out on Tuesday, and on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Mel's is actually your official kickoff party, your official apres party, and your official after party. So the kickoff and after parties have Robert Goss coming from Calgary. The apres party has High Step and Daddies on stage right after ski touring is done. People can walk down the red carpet and right into Mel's during the event.
Yeah.
Official watch party on Banff's biggest bar TV that they just got, this 12.6 by 6 foot, 22 foot LED screen. It's gonna be a hell of a weekend. Are you gonna be there for ski touring weekend?
I am. I've got a couple dates of stuff I'm doing. So me and the band are actually gonna be playing for Snow Days. That'll be on the 17th. It's 4:30. We're there for an hour, and then I'm gonna be climbing over to the Dusty Boot. I'm gonna be doing that for a couple hours around 7 o'clock. So I've got that going on that weekend. I'll be doing one more Snow Days appearance at about 11:30 on the day after.
Right on. That's awesome. Yeah, Snow Days is gonna be a hell of a time in the Bow Valley. It always is.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's jump right into it. This episode, as you mentioned, you have a single coming out. This episode of the Peak Performer Series is going to drop the day of your single.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called "You're Doing Okay." So tell people why they should listen to the song, why this is the first song you're releasing, and where they can find it to listen to right now.
Yeah, so I'll start with the end of that quickly. So just as it's a first release, I'm slowly starting to get everything, the machines working. I do have a pre-save link for iTunes that you can use if you wanted to purchase the song and save it ahead of time before it comes out in a couple of 3 days. It'll be available on all platforms. So it'll be on Spotify and iTunes, Apple Music, and everything else. It'll be on everything. And this song, "You're Doing Okay," it's the first single because I was between that and another song that I'm very excited to release as well. But it was, I think, the most personal and as an artist to write something. It was the most personal, and it was there's nothing more kind of personal that it could be, because the song was a letter to me. It's called "You're Doing Okay." It was me convincing myself you're good, and I'd been, I've been through some stuff in the last year and a bit here, and it was kind of a moment of where I just felt low, and felt like I was on my own, and I wanted to write something. Sometimes you feel like you're your own best friend. Sometimes, or the only good best friend you have is you. And but it's worth. That's not a bad thing. Like, and you have to be. And so that song was me writing about that, and um, it's something I've always struggled with, and I've had a long time thinking that in order to be accountable for yourself was to be hard on yourself, and they don't have to go together. And you can say, yeah, I recognize I did that. Yeah, I'm not really totally proud of that, but keep moving. And that was really the attitude of the song. And I'm releasing it strategically a week before what you call the bluest day of the year, or Blue Monday. And the point of that is because that's when, the Bell Let's Talk things happen, and that's when all that starts, and people start talking about mental health. And if I could, I'd like it to be not because it has to be specifically as a male thing by any means, but I think for men's mental health, it's something that it's we need to look at a little more. And a lot of guys have that mentality that the only way to be accountable is to be hard on yourself. And when you're hard on yourself, and you're not patient with yourself, you don't have it for others anyway. And that turns you into someone that you're not going to like, and no one is going to like anyway. So, yeah.
Well, you're sitting here talking to a guy who very much relates to that. Everybody can relate to it when
Yeah.
it comes down to
Yeah.
it. I've lost 100 pounds before, took up
Yeah.
weightlifting and gained some muscle.
Yeah.
And quit smoking, quit
There you go.
drinking, cleaned up my life to be able to sit here with you. So I very much relate to that because you say you can be your own best friend, but you can also be your own worst enemy
Well,
at times.
and that's kind of what it is. It's picking a side. Like it's
Exactly.
and that's kind of what it is. Like I've had um things in my own life I've judged myself uh for, or was not a fan of, let's say. And everyone's got their insecurities, but and I do, and that's awesome. I didn't know all that. That's insane. And but that's the thing. I think that we have this, there's a lot of culture of self-love, and that's a good thing. But self-love is taking action on yourself. And like I heard a quote once I loved, where it was, I'm paraphrasing I heavily, I'm sure, but it's like you need, like, confidence doesn't come without competence. And so when you see yourself screwing up, or you see yourself doing things that you would like to do better than, and you want to think that you're more than that, that's why it's hard to have that utmost belief in yourself, because the evidence isn't there. But when you work on yourself, and when you try to humbly kind of approach it that way, and then all of a sudden you have evidence that you can be that person, and then that gives you the confidence that you won't get otherwise, and then that manifests and turns into something more. So that's yeah, this song was, in the song it talks about that lyrically, where it says, like I have a part at the end of the second verse where it says, like, because it's me talking to me, it's me giving myself a pep talk to get out of bed in the morning, to just go brush your teeth, get ready for work. Look, maybe you had a good day yesterday, maybe you had a bad day, but you're gonna have to do it all again today, whether you like it or not. And yeah, I think ultimately, before I lose my train of thought here, it's something that, like, the end of the second verse where I was going before, as it says, just remember you didn't do a damn thing on your own. And you don't have to feel like you did everything on your own to feel like the man you want to see yourself as, or whoever you are. You can acknowledge that you did what you could with what you could, and that's where you how you got there. You didn't do it on your own. No one does it on their own. And so that's the humble side. But it's very much of saying, like, a lot of us have a big problem. Like, for example, like what helped me write the song was the fact that there's a lot of empowerment songs out there, and which are good, but they're kind of like, they give off, some of these songs give off an impression of you're perfect the way you are. And I think for a lot of guys that's a hard thing to do, because I've got way too much evidence of the opposite right now. And that's really hard. to just be like, yeah, I'm doing great. But what you can do is say you're doing okay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that. It was the whole theme for that song. Is you don't need to like everything you've done.
Yeah.
You just need to not it be the reason that you don't like yourself at all. Like,
I agree completely with that.
yeah.
So, fortunately, we live in a time where men's mental health is actually becoming more of a thing that people talk about. I don't know. Are you aware of the Modern Wisdom podcast by like Chris Williamson?
No.
One of the biggest podcasts in the world, and
Mm.
he has guests kind of like Joe Rogan, but like more targeted discussions. Joe kind of just goes off of whatever he wants.
Sure.
But Chris Williamson is more targeted to the people
Yeah.
that he brings in and certain
Yeah.
topics.
Yeah.
And he's a big advocate for men's mental health. And I
Yeah.
recommend anybody check out that podcast and find
Yeah,
some
for sure.
topics that
Yeah.
relate to them.
Sure.
But he's a big driver of it, and just seen more and more in modern society. And you said something there that I agree with. Is there's a lot more content out there for empowerment and stuff these days. One of the things that helped me when I was cleaning up my life was listening to positive music such as what you're making right now, was changing the stuff that I followed on social media, so I only had things that like drove me to goals that I wanted to reach,
Yeah.
rather than just things that distracted me from the goals I wanted to reach. So I agree with that. Tyler actually showed me this song, gave me a little sneak preview. He drove me home from tough luck after he won the contest to Canmore, and it is a great tune. So get out on those streaming platforms and look it up. You're Doing Okay by Tyler Wood. So we've already touched on it, but with the theme of the song being so aligned with Blue Monday and Bell Let's Talk Day,
Yeah.
so why exactly is the men's mental health just so important to you?
Yeah, I think the reason that it's the focus of this song is really, I mean, the simple way to say it is like it comes from a man's perspective. It was written, it was a letter to me. It was a letter to me saying that, like I was saying before, like there's a lot of empowerment songs out there that you hear, and definitely in a female way. That you're perfect the way you are, you're doing great, whatever. And I think men really struggle with that. And I'm the type of guy where I can't say that to myself in the mirror when I just tripped over that curve, where I just had that moment. And it's like, but what is a lot more manageable and doable is saying, you know what, you're not doing as bad as you think you're doing. And I think a big part of why this song I want to tie into it being a men's mental health discussion to some degree, like it's not something I want to be endlessly about, in a sense of I don't want to be the poster boy as everything I do is about that. But I do think that it should be part of the discussion because of the time of year that it's at. And it's a lot of guys come off grumpy, that they come off irritable, and we have a hard time with our emotions in a way that women don't struggle with like we do, because we don't have a culture, or they don't have a culture like ours that says, well, you have to act like it's all together. And so what happens is when we don't want to say, hey, you hurt my feelings, hey, this is bothering me, hey, I'm not doing very well right now. What is very validating is to find a way to turn it into anger, because then it's a righteous, like you can't do that or you whatever. But what I've come to learn about myself in writing the song, and at the time I was writing it, which was a really low place, and I was having a hard time liking the guy in the mirror a little bit, but I realized after learning a little bit more about myself and working on myself a little bit, as I realized it's only coming from me. I'm the one being hard on myself. I'm the one that's making me on edge. And then when you realize that that's what it is, that's why you're on edge in your life. And I remember I had not a lot of patience for other people and people who are friends of mine, coworkers of mine. And I realized, and then once you realize that that was all coming from you, that you can't have patience for other people if you don't have it for yourself. And that's, I think, where a lot of guys, where that energy starts. That quote I loved was this quote I heard once. It said, hurt people. And I just wish every single problem or cause that we look to fight or try to solve or resolve was looked at that way. I find it incredibly inhuman to see that, oh, someone's having a bad time, or say they did something that isn't what they should have done, and the only thing you can take away from it was that was wrong. Well, duh, of course. But if someone's hurting, they're gonna hurt people, and I think where I'm tying this in is the fact that I'm not trying to say that we have more struggles than our female counterparts in any way, because that's not true. They have their struggles, but we also commit suicide 3 to 4 times more than they do, and you can't say that we have no problems, because if we did, then why would that be happening? And so I wanted to be about that a little bit, or to be a part of the discussion, because that's how the song started for me. I had to tell yourself, look, buddy, you're not doing as bad as you think you are. Yeah, you didn't make the deadline you were supposed to. Yeah, you didn't. You said you weren't going to do this anymore. You said you're going to, stop eating fast food all the time. You're going to cook at home, but now you're getting DoorDash again. But what helped me grow into a better person wasn't this thing that a lot of guys do, which is, oh, why'd you do that? That you get hard on yourself and you can be accountable without being an asshole to yourself. And that's what that whole thing is. And I think it's worth tying to men's mental health because I think a lot of that grumbly kind of culture that everyone knows guys like that, right? But I think where that starts from is because we have an old school way of raising dudes and boys that is to hey, do better than that, and then you carry that, and it's like you can be accountable and say, okay, well, I'll do that differently next time without adding all the negative crap at the end of it. And so yeah, that's what the song's about, and that's why I care about it being brought into discussion, because I think that there's a lot of guys in our or men in our lives that would be so much better men if they were just less hard on themselves.
Yeah, for sure. Completely agree. And most men out there can definitely, all men out there can definitely relate to that. All right. So, yeah, You're Doing Okay is available on streaming platforms right now, but you actually have a few other songs ready and a strategic release plan for these songs. So, kind of. I've already heard the Bat Blue at a few recent shows.
Yeah.
Great tune. Absolutely love it. So, tell us about the release strategy and the album, how it's all coming together.
Yeah, so the plan of now, so only one song is recorded, and that's You're Doing Okay. So at the end of this month, I'm flying to Ontario and I'm recording all the other songs. I'm recording the rest of the album, including these four that are part of the album, or these three. Sorry. The next song to come out will be 427. Tentatively right now for March 27th. It's going to come out, and it's going to be a polar switch to You're Doing Okay. I'm looking to go in a bit of a country rock direction, mainly because when I was a kid, I was a metalhead first, and I've always that's where my love of music started, was through that genre, and so I wanted a song to reflect that. And 427, it's about like me like taking a girl out ice fishing, and using the ice fishing as kind of the setting for the song. And so that song I'm so excited to do and to release. And then after that will be a song called For Granted, probably a month or so after that. That song I wrote, it was the song that actually got me involved with my producer and got me involved with taking this more professionally. Was I my producer I met 10 years ago now, and it was when I was going to school at Humber College, and he was in the college residence I was living in. He was down the hall. Oh, nice. So he was at that time. I don't think he was even producing. I think he was mainly drumming for other artists, and I kept bumping into him, and he was always busy. His work ethic was from that time, but he was always busy. I rarely saw him, but when I did, I said hello, and he did the same back. And then about 9 years later, there was a video of me a friend took, and I put it online. It was me playing at Tommy's doing a cover of Tennessee Whiskey, and I posted it. And he said, hey, and he reached out to me. He said, "Hey, like, you're still like good. Like, you're still doing this. Like, we should do a writing session." And I was like, "Sure, we'll do a writing session." And I was like, because I was like, kind of in the sense of like, I was like, obviously we're gonna write a song, but it was the first time I heard words put in a certain way that weren't in my world just yet, and I was like, okay. And so we went to write the song, and the long story short of it is, we wrote the song For Granted, which was for my mom, and and it was for because I always preface it at gigs saying, like, you have a parent that you get along with a little better than the other, and me and my mom would have more friction than with me and my dad, and but I always felt guilty about that. And but when my parents were visiting in England and they came back, right when they got to Pearson Airport in Toronto, we got the news that our aunt had passed away. And my mom, I don't even know if she left the airport. Like, she literally just bought a one-way flight straight back, and like in an instant, didn't even think about it. And I had a moment to myself where I kind of like, you know what, buddy, like, that's your mom, ultimately. And when I got to this writing session with Sean Moore, he uh, we caught up for about 20 minutes, and then we started getting this song, and then we'd finished it in 2 hours. And it was about me setting the record straight, and making sure that my mom realized through this song that I appreciate her enormously. And so this song, when it was finished, he asked me, "Hey, what are you doing March 9th?" And I was like, "What are you doing March 9th?" And he said, "You should come to the Country Music Alberta Awards." And from that weekend on, all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, okay, I could really do this now." You're surrounded by the right people. There's no excuse. You can't say you didn't meet the right people. Now it puts a fire under your butt, and you go, "Okay, well, if I want to do this, I know what to do. It's a matter of doing it." And so ultimately, yeah, that's so that song for Granted is what started my kind of career before it even being released in that way. So, and then the last song, of course, is Labatt Blue. So Labatt Blue is very Canadian themed, and it was around the time that our tariff feuds with our neighbors were starting, and I wasn't looking to make a dig or anything, but I wanted something with an obvious Canadian theme, just so that we could have something and that, just to have a little more of a tune for us. And so,
absolutely.
But so that means there wasn't going to be any Budweisers in the song. There wasn't going to be any Millers. There wasn't going to be, and there's all the Canadian beers in the song, and it's themed around me. I've had a breakup, and I'm drinking at the bar on my own and trying to kind of like dull it away, and then all of a sudden, all our friends walk in. I know she's going to be with them, and I'm going, okay. And then I started downing more, and then I make sure to mention all the Canadian brands of beer that I'm drinking at the time, and that's the song. And it's the most country song on the album for sure. Like it's the most that sounds that I want.
I could see here, you play that at the Tommy's Unplugged finals there, and you actually get people to raise up their glass if they have it.
It did work, okay. Yeah.
So it's actually a good little concept, a good theme for the song at a show. I think it's a great tune. It might help you kick off the career for sure here.
Right. Yeah. I know. I'm very excited for that one as well. And that one will be the last of all four collectively. That'll come out hopefully around the middle of May 15th-ish. Awesome. Is the idea. This gives a couple weeks before June starts, before summer starts, and then you can have a beer drinking song before it starts.
And will all those be on the album?
Yes. All of them are.
How many more songs are you going to add to the album?
So there's 10 songs total on the album right now. There is some back pocket songs that I would like to do after this album's released in the future, and I haven't decided whether that's going to be on a new record or if it's going to be kind of be into a deluxe album in the future, but we'll see when we cross that bridge at that time. But the album itself is that song for my mom I got to play for her, and which was very good because I didn't realize how much time I actually had, and in September 2024 I lost my mom, so that album is dedicated to her. The name of the album is called Launchpad. And the reason for that is because my mom she was a very eccentric woman, and people loved her for it. We all did. And what happened is when she found a word she liked, she would use it for lots of different things. For about 3 years before she passed, she had a thing about saying every year, like darling, like this year's going to be your launch pad. And so that's why it's going to be the title of the album, and it's a debut album. And there's 10 songs, and For Granted will be on there. There is one song that is written from me processing or passing, and that song's called Rebel Child, and so that's in the middle of the album. And there's a lot. The proudest thing I am about this album as well is that not because it needed to be this way, but there's no love songs. Like it's every single song on the album is written with a specific theme, a specific subject matter, and it makes every song completely different. Not just me trying to write another twangy song or whatever it is. So there's something in there for everyone in a very literal way. And I just can't wait to see what people think of my writing, which I'm actually very proud of at this point as well, and see what they think.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing message behind the album, behind every single song you have. So that's great. That's what I love about music is when you got that personal connection to the artist and the song and the writing. And I think you have a great thing going here for that. So
Yeah.
I hope it is your launch pad. I
Yeah,
expect it to be.
me too.
No doubt.
Me too. Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait to hear them all. So this is all coming out in the spring and then into the summer for the album. So what are your follow-up plans for the summer as this all comes out?
Yeah. So I should mention as well. So part of the Tom's competition of the Tylerwood bands. So the band I have backing me up. We're getting ready right now to have 3 full sets ready so that we can start playing with the band backing me up on stage.
Band's biggest stage right behind the camera there. Maybe?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, and we're trying to that's the thing. We're trying to get ready so that we can just start doing it, right? And I've one thing at a time, and and that's that goes back to kind of the you're doing okay thing, where it's like I want to have everything done tomorrow, and that's not going to happen. Cut yourself some slack.
I understand that feeling,
right? So it's just because you have a lot of expectations, and so anyway. But yeah, no, absolutely, I'd love to play on Mel stage without question. But as far as summer plans, that will be the most exciting part of the summer. Is I'll be the plan is to have a band backing me up, and we can throw the biggest performance possible, which is what I'm very much looking forward to being part of that. But also, I've been offered a couple. I'm sure I'll have lots of gigs over that time, but I have 2 that have stood out. In December, I received a call asking to be part of a singer-songwriter showcase, and the showcase is at Big Valley Jamboree. So I'm very excited about that. I got a call literally a couple of days ago when we were doing the Ranchman's competition in Calgary. You compete for first place because the first place winner gets a main stage slot at Country Thunder. And so I was like, that'd be great. But we got to the semifinals, and that was as far as we did. But it was a great experience, and we loved doing it. And it was the first time doing it, right? Yeah. So, but I received a call asking me to play on the Country 105 stage at Country Thunder now.
Nice.
So those
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Because and it's a bit crazy still for me, and I considering I'm putting songs out. Like right now, starting now, and those are some pretty insane opportunities that I am still, like I said, I'm struggling to compute still, and I'm super grateful to Ed Harris for offering those things to me. Yeah, yeah. So those are the big things at the moment. I can think of for sure.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, you touched on some of the things there. Putting together the new band, semifinals at Ranchman's with the new band, your first time performing with them.
Yeah.
Winning the Tommy's Unplugged, the second time really bringing the band together.
Yeah.
So tell us, who's in the band? How did it come together?
Sure.
And just like, how's it gelled so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our bass player. So current members bass player is Martin Grace. Martin's been a long time friend of mine since I moved out here. He's musically inclined. He's also like a producer. Goes by Sintra, and he's a DJ producer. And so we've been friends for a long time. We used to do a little DJing together too. And this is right. Yes, this is right. And every now and then we'll do that. And so he's been a long time friend. Shay O'Brien on drums. I met through work because he has his own business there, his tire business there, and I met him. Max Mobile, that's right. And he's and I work at Rome Transit, so we naturally
makes sense.
ran into each other. And then I remember I was going to the Canadian Brewer House to watch a girl named Kelsey Main play, and local legend Brent Lee was also playing that night. And I was unavailable at the time to say yes to the gig. Because they were looking to book me, and something got in the way and it didn't work. But then all of a sudden I was free that night. I was like, well, I'll stop by. And I'd heard a lot about Kelsey Main, but Shay was doing sound.
Oh, wow.
And so when I was and she very nicely, and I was not looking to, but I mean, I was like, okay, sure, why not? She asked me to play a couple tunes, and I did. And me and Shay started talking about, if you're looking for a band or whatever, and need drums, and we started talking from then. And so became the drummer pretty much from that point. And then Seb, um, Seb is someone who Seb Stables is someone who I met through friends. I have a friend who Abby, who works at Sheepdog Brewery, and Seb's girlfriend's Kate works there as well. And I was out for a drink with my buddy Shane the one night, and and when we were there, we started talking. Oh, my boyfriend plays guitar and so on. And then we were kind of put into a blind date, and then we went and he came over and we played around, and I was like, yep, and they're more than capable of playing guitar and all the rest, and he's just awesome dude, and I've been very lucky. Like everyone's got pretty level heads, everyone's pretty, and
You all
good
gelled
people.
well together.
Good people. So yeah, and that's the whole band. I'm not looking for much more than that. Right now, I like keeping it a bit bare bones, and like as I play guitar as well, of course, and I like having a guitar in my hand. So I've got the rhythm, Seb's got lead, and Smart on bass and Shay on drums.
Have you ever thought about getting us intro on the decks during a country song?
Yeah,
those
yeah. I mean, I might make playing bass a little difficult, but it was funny. But I mean, that's kind of fun. I never thought of that. It's fine. It's like a Slipknot thing. We get turntables outside. But yeah, no. I haven't yet. I haven't yet. But that's something to think about.
You don't need a play bass when you're throwing down the bass on the decks.
There you go. Yeah, that's right.
All right, and let's focus on, we are Rocky Mountain Live, so let's focus on the Tommy's Unplugged, the one you won there. So tell us about your experience there, and Gary Gonis, the host of Tommy's Unplugged, just how was that experience?
Yeah, for sure. It was awesome. And we, at first, like it was, it's funny. I wasn't thinking about it actually that year. I was, because we had Branchmans going on around that time, and I was very focused towards that at that time. So when and then I ran into you, and then and you were saying, well, they got some spots open, and I was like, okay. Well, I was like, sure, absolutely, well, why not? And at the time, it was kind of, it was for a band that doesn't have 3 hours ready, we needed some areas to try out songs and playing in front of people, and that was kind of a big part of why I was like, well, why not? And then as we started moving through, we're like, all of a sudden, it was like, yeah, competitive. And you're like, okay, no, I kind of want to see how well we can do. But it was good fun to it builds a lot of conversations for when we go to plan for those 3-hour gigs, and we're 3 sets, and what songs work together, what songs flow nicely together, and when you're planning sets. And but there was a lot of good competition, and a lot of them are friends of mine, music friends of mine, and I, but it was extremely, like what I said as well. Like I was interviewed with Rocky Mountain Outlook, and it's the same thing. Like it was, and also it's a heartwarming thing in a way, because Tommy's is where I started playing live again.
Oh, nice.
Like, because I'd made music years ago, but I'd played it in like back home a little bit, but it was only once I had few years ago, I was entering the competition the first time in 2019, because there was Tommy's every Wednesday, and then I finally had played in front of people again, and I remember feeling of not having that, because I had very isolated jobs. I wasn't around a bar, I wasn't around. So the second I did it again, and it felt so like right. And so anytime I walk in that bar, I see kind of the launch pad there too, because it's like that's where it started, and that's where I started getting invited to play gigs and offered gigs, and so it was a very heartwarming experience, because while we all are technically competing against each other, no one, like, everyone wanted to see everyone.
Everybody was supporting each other. Like Segoya, they were a lot of fun, and they were front and center when you were performing, cheering you on.
Exactly. And we made sure to watch everyone as well, and it was very it was just, it always feels that way when you go in there. It always feels cozy. It always feels warm, and so it's always good just to be there.
Like Banff's basement, like Banff Brewing Company still calls himself Banff's living room. I'd say Tommy's is like Banff's basement.
Well, it's kind of like, I mean,
out in the basement with everybody.
It's like the coffee house in Friends. It's just where it's like that, and but so I love going there, and Tommy too. I love seeing him, and I So the experience it's always good being a Thomas, but at the same time, um, it was fun. So it's a big part of the competition and to do it and for us to really put our best foot forward and in that way so yeah, we're very grateful to have won for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna thank Gary Gonas for inviting Rocky Mountain
Yes,
Live there.
yeah,
As Tyler mentioned there, he it's funny how things work out because I actually messaged Gary. He released the lineup for the just preliminary rounds, and was wondering if there was some spots available so I could pass along to some bands. And like Tyler said, we ran into each other.
driving the bus.
He's mentioned he drives for Rome Transit, and I was
Uh,
taking the bus home, and I was like, hey, you got semifinals and Ransom's going. You get into Tommy's Unplugged. Like, you should be on that list. And then he joined and ends up winning, and that brings us here today.
yep.
So, the theme of this launch pad today, and of course, well, the theme of the launch pad, I want to circle back to Gary because
Yes,
almost
sure.
every single person, not almost, every single person that I brought on the Peak Performer series since I started this, I think this is the 18th episode I'm doing.
Okay.
A lot of those people have been in the Bow Valley, at least half probably. Every single person has mentioned Gary being a launch pad for their music careers in the Bow Valley. He's a great guy who just gets
Yes.
people in front of a microphone and in front of people.
Mm.
Will hook up gigs with people once you get on stage. So thank you, Gary, for all your work you're doing in the local scene. We're actually going to be doing another Peak Performer series episode in a couple weeks with Gary, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
I'm really looking
and
forward
Gary
to that.
runs all those open mics at Tommy's. So like
Every week, every Wednesday.
he was one of the first musical contacts that I met and made, and that's why he is that way for so many people. And he's such a cheerleader. He's always like checking on you, or like there's something going on. He makes sure to tell you about it. Like, and you need people like that in your life, and we're very grateful. Every musician in this area is very grateful to have him, to know him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I can't wait for that episode. What should I ask Gary when I bring him on the Peak Performer series?
What should you ask him?
Yeah. Give me a question right now. This is my thing. I'm gonna reach out to all my past Peak Performer series interviews and ask them to give me a question for Gary.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's see here. So I'd say like, um, well, do you know the impact you have on all the musicians and band? And this is probably where I would like to start it, just to make sure that a point is made. But I also like, um, what I would say, what after all the years we've been here and is knowing this place better than anyone, because most of us move here.
Yeah.
Like what would you say is your biggest takeaways of um what's your biggest takeaways of of qualities you've seen in musicians or artists that do very well? I would say. Because he has all the
I can't wait for that interview. I'm looking forward to that one. We'll be sitting here.
Yeah.
Mel's doing that in a couple of weeks. So yeah, staying on that topic of launch pads here, it's clear your career is really starting to take off. So let's circle back and talk about being a musician when you're younger. So what made you first love music, and how would you get a guitar in your hands and then start performing live?
Sure. Okay. Great. Yeah, I think like it said in the bio there, like starting to play the guitar at age 13. I think that's still correct. But you always tinkle around. I mean, it's funny because I mean, there's being a musician and there's music, right? So like when I like in the sense of what started first, so I'll separate them that way. When it came to music, I think you always hear music as a kid, but it's the first moment something grabs you and you want to hear it on repeat. When you get that feeling, then all of a sudden it's a whole other thing. And I remember as a kid, my dad was a very country person. Um, my mom didn't really like country at all. And she was, she was, at that time, I mean, she'd always say, well, I'm English and she, and she would say, well, we don't, country's not very big over there. And which was correct at the time.
Yeah.
And which country is definitely blowing up and everywhere it seems, but it's, which is something I didn't foresee, for sure. But it was something that, with my dad being, the honky guy, my mom being the city girl from England, I had a very big contrast in the music I was listening to. But I remember when I was a kid, I was about 6 years old, and I remember hearing the soundtrack Tarzan because all the drums in it and all the bongos and stuff, and it was so like primal sounding, and you were just cool. And I remember like that was the very first time I felt that. And I remember that. But then when it came to finding music, that was, you don't just sit and listen to Disney soundtracks. When I found music I really liked, it was when it was something with a little edge to it. It was rock. It started with a hair metal. It started with ACDC, or it started with Kiss, and then once you found the sounds in those bands, you wanted it anywhere else you could find it, which is very precursor for metalhead. It's like because it's like when and then it get because you want the edge, you want something that's edgier than the last thing you listen to, and that's what starts it. Is all of a sudden you want something heavier, harder, or faster, or darker, whatever it is, something that the more badass it can be. And so it went from those bands to like kind of 3 Days Grace, and then Breaking Benjamin, the Nickelbacks, and the Theory of a Dead Man, and all like Seether bands like that. All of that, and it gets into Disturbed, and then it starts getting into Killswitch Engage and Trivium and Slipknot, and those were when it really took me there. And then that goes into metalcore, and then it just keeps so and it keeps me into it today. Like if I hear something filthy, I'm listening to it. Like, or I'm gonna notice it. That will, not to pull like the scene kid thing, but it's not a phase, mom. Like it was always there. Like and it was like it's always gonna be there. And that really was. But metal was the start of my love for music, and I love the honesty of how. Like I'm the type of guy where if I want to be in a good mood and I'm not in a good mood, I can't put good mood music on. That makes me more annoyed and irritated.
I'm the complete opposite of that.
Well, there you go. But that's just me. But that's like the fix is kind of that genre, because it gets a connotation of being dark a lot of the time, and being like really oh, you're angry or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but sometimes you are, and a lot of it is not doom and gloom. Like a lot of it is actually quite uplifting if you actually read the lyrics and listen to it. But it was nice to have something that was like, you know what, I'm not doing okay. I'm not having a good time right now. And as a kid, something that echoed that. And not to say that I had a horrible time as a kid or anything. I'm just saying that it was nice to have something that was honest about those feelings. And that, I think, and it makes you feel less alone if you're dealing with something at that time. You hear, and that's what music does. Is it makes you feel heard by listening to somebody else. And so like when that happens, you fall in love with it. And I love like all genres. I've got like and then I couldn't get a metal band in high school, and I tried to go in to do a pop music thing, and I had this great band towards the end of high school. And just when I came back from being away for a year, and then when I got back and it didn't continue after that, and I was, definitely upset about it. But I was writing the songs anyway, so I figured, well, I'll just keep doing this. And I kept doing that and kept doing that and tried to do the pop thing. And then I've had huge like EDM phases. Like I've had like literally any like all over the map. And so, but there's something to take away from every genre because it's made by people. So and music is just trying to take emotions or feelings and make them music, and use the music to make someone else feel that way or describe that feeling. And so it's and then and then I was in a bit of a writer's block for quite a few years. I thought I'd kind of done it already. Like I thought, okay, I've tried, I'm done. And then I'm back to writing songs again. And once I leaned in a more country direction, all of a sudden it was flying, and I couldn't, like, it was really like a lot, and I was very grateful for that. But I always didn't think that country was where I'd go, and not because I don't think I fit it or anything, but just because um, I found a guitar. I saved up money to buy a guitar before I saved up money to buy a fishing rod or a rifle. And for me, hunting and fishing was country from where I'm from. And it wasn't as much of the farming thing as in Alberta, like Alberta did. It was from being in the middle of the bush and growing up in the middle of nowhere. And so I found music very young. It started young, but then when it got to guitar, I remember watching a tenant of Richard Smith, the old tenant of my dad, who's a family friend and has been for years. I saw him playing, and it was just the first time you see someone do that, you go, I gotta figure that out. Like I gotta figure that out. That's awesome. Like that's and so my dad made me when I was 8, or he said, okay, you want to buy, is a Radio Shack like $125 guitar, And he was like, "Yeah, well, if you're, tell you what, I'll give you." And what my dad said is, "You pile firewood, and I'll pay $5 every time you pile firewood, and we'll save up for $125 guitar." And so that's how it started. I mean,
Nice.
I got to about the halfway mark, and then he paid the rest of it. But he was struggling to because like you were talking about how many different times you have to pile firewood, and he's running out of wood. So it's like, so he was like, we didn't do it all the time, but I was, and then he would get his friends to, "Hey, can my son pile firewood for you?" So he can get, and then it just got to a point where I don't know how much of it I really saved up, but he made me work for it. And then when I went and bought the guitar, I was 8 years old and I couldn't play it. It was the strings were so high from the fret, so it cut into your fingers. And that's when you haven't played yet. You don't have calluses or nothing. So it was really painful as an 8-year old trying to figure that out. He got me one guitar teacher and it wasn't really working. And for like 5 years, that guitar collected dust, and I was a bit of a hoarder in a way. Like my dad was going to have a garage sale, my parents were, and then he said, "Well, are you going to keep this thing?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I immediately, "Oh, no, of course I am." But it's been years I haven't touched the thing, so I picked this thing up, and dust flies over it, and then I kind of, but my hands had grown, so all of a sudden it was like, you're like, "Hey, I got that." And then you just said, and it just built slowly from that. And I wasn't even playing it right. I was just getting it right on one string, and then it built. And then it got to you, and then the metalhead of me, you learn how to. There's the chords you learn in church, but then you down tune to a drop D, ooh, and then all of a sudden you're learning bars and power chords, and you realize you're starting to be able to play rhythm for almost any of your, like, just with that technique you can play for so many songs of bands you love. And then it just went from there. And then all of a sudden I was able to play in a certain style, and I felt like I was actually learning the instrument.
Nice.
And so, and once you do that, you get a bit of an addiction to for a while. It's like getting a brand new video game or something. You stay on it for a month. Like it's that. But then once I got to a certain playability with the instrument, all of a sudden I was like, well, I could actually start making songs. And that entered my head. And then from that moment on, I've been writing since I've been proficient at any level guitar. And that was always what it was. But I saved up for, and part of the country thing I was saying before of not sure if I really would. I thought I had to be the guy that got up at 5 in the morning on a Saturday to be in a tree stand every weekend before I could be a country artist. Like that was a big part of it. But it was also, I think that, you watch any Yellowstone or Landman or any of these, like the characters in these shows, and you see like the typical country guy. At the end of the day, being the most, as long as you're being yourself without permission, you can be country in that way, to me. And so that's the way I approach this. Is, I love fishing, but I don't do a lot of it out here. I do it when I go home, and take the sled out for a rip and whatever. But it's just that's how that kind of works.
Right on. That's awesome. So, when you're learning that guitar, you develop your own style over the years. So, who are some of the major influences that help shape that style for you?
I'll subjugate it a little bit, but I mean, I when it came to the metal stuff when I was younger, I remember it being Trivium, and I remember it being like Bullet for My Valentine or Slipknot or a lot of these bands, which turned into like the metalcore of August Burns Red and Parkway Drive and bands like that. And I always loved the fast up based stuff, and so that influenced a little bit of guitar playing technique early on because it was the only one I was using. But it was, like you're the only style I cared about at that time. But I think when it comes to songwriting, in country, Chris Stapleton's a big one. Lately, Stephen Wilson Jr. has been is if you don't know who he is, you should. But I've loved anyone who can write songs within a very diverse way. Like if it's not just about I love you and I miss you, like where it seems to always be, or I'm gonna go out tonight and forget about you. Like it was, I loved Brad Paisley. He's a wild guitar player, but he's also right. But he had songs about alcohol. He had songs about
Alcohol's a banger.
yeah, he's about
Every
yeah. Or like, but he would write about all that, or he'd write about family, or he'd write about, man, you didn't need to be. He talked about a stepdad. He talked about a letter to me, writing about a letter to my childhood self, about his kids, about like, like there was, and those, like, I'm missing so many examples. But another big one, honestly, was Toby Keith. Toby Keith was where I got a taste for country. When I was younger, we'd be driving to visit our aunt in Fort Francis from Dryden, and we found it, and my dad got a greatest hits of Toby Keith, and I was in love with every single song. I am because and he had a dry humor, and like Brad Paisley has that with like I'm gonna miss her, like songs like that, or like and Toby Keith had that same dry humor. And I loved watching comedy as a kid because when I saw my dad laugh at something, it was a mental note that I would take. And so when I could see him laugh at a song, I was like, well, whatever they're doing is right. And I remember that being big. So, um, but lately I've like a guilty pleasure, honestly, is Ella Langley,
Uh-huh.
because she's just done a really, really good job of in her whole catalog, all of her songs, of being very her and being vulnerable and talking about things that she's maybe like she's not proud of or things that she same kind of romantic pattern she falls into and being open about it and but she's done what I think any real artist should do, which is it like tell us about you too in a way that paints a picture of you, and she's really done such a good job with that. She's I feel like I know her after listening to all her songs and I've never met her, of course. And so that's a big one. And but I loved R&B a lot too. That was when I was starting to get a love for songwriting because I loved my mom would always play like some funk, like some Earth, Wind, and Fire. She'd play like I remember there's a Boys to Men CD that I remember being like any slow 3-4 time where they're dragging out a note. I was like, damn, I'm like I really like this. And I remember early Alicia Keys I was big into, early John Legend I loved.
Oh yeah.
And those are all kind of starting points in some of these genres, but I liked anything that sounded different to something I'd already heard before. But I think where country fits for me, especially right now, is because it's the best genre right now for songwriting. You can write about lots of different things, and country's got a spot for that. You can and I and that's what I've done with Launchpad and all the songs on it, as I've taken the framework of country and I do have a little of country background. It's like not like I got no credit at all. Like I grew up, all my friends in the town would be, oh, I gotta take out the garbage. And I'm like, bro, like I'm piling firewood. If I even ask my dad, like when we're finished, he'll just say when we're finished, and he'll come bring another load of wood over. Like you don't get it. And you can just go back to your video games, which I'm not even playing. Like it's just like but growing up with a huge family that were all big hunters and all big, they were very outdoorsy, and that was a big part of my life. Like my uncle had a big hunting fishing camp attached to me everywhere. I loved it. Like I remember, and I love fishing, and fishing was just kind of the go-to thing, especially where I grew up. When you need something to do with your buddies, or with your dad, or with your grandpa, or whoever it is, you go fishing. And 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 I always thought that when I went to Toronto, I was at that time I thought I was going to be the city guy, and I remember realizing, no, you think a lineup at Tim's is 4 people, no, like you got to like this ain't you either, buddy. Like, and then I was, but it's home for me.
I agree. I'm from a small town, Ontario, as well.
Yeah,
When I get in the city, I think I like get a fit in and everything, and I was like, oh, this isn't really my vibe. I'd
and all of a
rather
sudden
be in
you're like,
somewhere like
no,
Banff or Tim, where it's just like the smaller towns with a bit of
like
a bigger vibe,
like
you
some
know?
fresh air once in a while would be nice.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly,
fresh
exactly.
air.
So you've grown as an artist over the years, obviously. So how did your songwriting process develop from a time where you were growing up listening to that metalcore and that stage to now when you're writing songs like you're doing okay?
I'd say that probably the quickest way to answer that is like I said, like it was the music of metal I loved, and it was writing more like the guitar part or whatever. And but I always wanted to do music anyway, or I had a drive for it that I wasn't going anywhere. And so, but when you're trying to create a metal band in high school, you need 3 or 4 other people who are on the same page or putting the same effort. And I didn't find that. And so I, or at least, no one was going to make a band with me or commit to it. And so I was like, okay, well, um, is what it is. And then one day I was I knew I was going on a year away as an exchange student to Brazil, and I was working at McDonald's, and it was like February, and I remember getting in your cold car not my car, my mom's car, of course, but and then like it's -20, -30, and you get that first time you sit down in the seat that everyone understands. And goes, oh, okay, yep, yep, okay, yep. Turn on, turn on, turn on. Yep, here we go. Okay, and then you're kind of doing that, and I had this line that was like, "I've been confined to this land of snow where only a quarter of the year isn't cold. This isn't," and it became a song about me writing about dreaming about what Brazil would be like. And then my a friend at the time heard it, and then we created this band, and we were a very poppy, punk or funky kind of band. We did a lot of Maroon 5 covers. We did like Robin Thicke and
That's awesome.
that type of thing. And then and then I realized actually just writing lyrics is a lot of fun, and I don't need to make it overly complicated. And I was having just as much fun doing that as writing a guitar part for a heavy song. And so I realized, well, okay, well, I just started doing that, and then it kind of just went, I wasn't paying attention to it. It just kind of went on its own trajectory, and then it was always kind of pop stuff after that, and then it was less about, yes, you want to write music that goes well with words, but it was more about me getting the words. It was more about me making sure that what I said, I meant every word, and I meant it that way. And I had a huge passion for that all of a sudden, because it was making sure that you're reflecting yourself the best way you can in the song about you or about what you're going through that you just wrote. And so I kind of from that point on always loved doing that. And that's never ended. And that's kind of I think why even after I tried to kind of do like a pop acoustic poppy thing, and I was once I wrote country, I noticed I sang it very easily, which I think came from the Brad Paisley and Toby Keith upbringing.
Yeah.
It was just because whatever you hear first as a kid, you have a natural inclination to when you go to try to sing, learn to sing. It just goes to what you start with what you know, and if you don't know anything, you start with the closest thing to it. But it was always a draw. Like even in my older songs, I can notice like it goes
It
there
was meant to be.
a little bit, yeah, a little bit. And like it sounds like corny, but it's not. It is, And I get country, like I get that attitude, I get that mentality. I grew up in the bush. Like it's not a foreign thing that I'm impersonating. It's something I understand. I wasn't the most outside because I found a guitar that I could do inside. That was
Yeah.
it. Like
You're not a city boy putting on the boots and trying to make some money in country
no,
music. It's what you've always kind of identified with.
well, it's always been like I told you I was a comedy fan
Yeah.
before, and I always have been, always will be. But the first comedians I ever watched were Jeff Foxworthy, Bullying Bull, Larry the Cable Guy, and Ron White. This blue collar comedy tour, and I was and that's the country humor, that's the redneck humor, that's the and so and me and my dad would always and like other parts of the family, we'd sit and watch it, and we'd laugh our asses off the whole time, and 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 so I've always remembered those little aspects of it being like, no, this works.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you're clearly all in on the country music career
Yeah.
here. I love the tunes; they're great. You got the very distinct voice, as we were just talking about, that really fits in with the country theme. And the music hits a person personally, gets you moving. So after going through all your musical process, moving out to Alberta, when was the moment you realized that you were part of the country music scene out here?
Well, it's funny. I think that was really in Edmonton. I was at the that was after Sean had invited me to go to the Country Music Alberta Awards for the
Yeah,
first time. And like there's a community here, of course, but it was, these are this, I didn't even think I wasn't committed then to country, but I wrote the song and it definitely came off country in the way I sang it, I think, for granted, and certain ways. And I've had it pointed out to me by other music friends of mine that it's there. And I went to this awards, and they do, it's kind of like a function or a conference. Like there's roundtables, and there's um, conf, workshops and all this stuff, and you start meeting people through them, and talking about stuff, and they cover everything. And when I was doing that, one of the questions, one of the roundtables, what kind of country do you do? And I didn't have any answer for that. So it got to me, and I was like, I mean, I don't. I mean, I think. I mean, look, I'm just trying to kind of figure it out right now. But I don't know what kind of country I would be. But it's something I'm more and more interested all the time, I think.
yeah.
and I didn't have an answer, and that was, I think, how new I was, and but the Alberta community for country in general is wonderful. And everyone's it's just like going to Tommy's. It's just like that environment I was describing earlier, where everyone's on your side. Everyone wants to see you do well. Everyone wants is there for you. And when they go out of their way to support you, and then you want to support them, and then all of a sudden you really feel the community of that one. And that's exactly what it was like. I didn't feel like I wasn't welcome anywhere. There's no clickiness. And I remember just it's starting from that, and then I ever since that song for granted, I was I like writing like when a slow song is. I love a 3/4 time. That's the R&B talking a little bit. I love doing when I'm upbeat, really being really upbeat, and sometimes and then for a little distorted guitar once in a while. But it was when I had when I did it in the style of country, my singing came out very easily for me in that genre in that way. Surprisingly, and it was also like I didn't. It was just the sound of it I was working. And then when I started writing songs, it made more sense to be played that way than any other way. And then I started to feel this like unspoken kind of like natural feeling that it works, and it felt right. It wasn't just that it works, and so I'm going to do that now. It was no, I think I can play this, and it feels like music made by me.
That's awesome.
And once I felt that as I started writing more songs, like "You're Doing Okay" being one of the first ones, and then I wrote and then "Love That Blue." And once I did that, I was like, "Nah, that's it." Like it was kind of from that point forward, like, no, this works. This is I don't need to look any further. This works.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's awesome. So let's say everything goes right. This is your launch pad with this album. Tyler Wood and the Tyler Wood Band blow up over the next couple of years.
yeah.
So, who are some of the musicians you dream of sharing the stage one day?
Huh. Um. Yeah. Okay. If anyone. I'm a decent guitar player.
Yeah.
I'm a decent singer. I'm very proud of my ability to write songs about different things. That's the one thing I've kind of tried to. That's why I'm so excited about releasing music right now, so that people hear it now for the first time. But when it comes to sharing a stage with people, you want, for me, you think about who checks all those things. And anyone who's a great guitar player that I've really looked up to, like my favorite guitar player is a guy named Matteo Sasato. He's a Brazilian guy who's played for a lot of different people. He's not really, he doesn't have a lot of solo artist work. He's mainly a studio or on stage performer, but he has the most beautiful guitar playing ever. It's so melodic. It sounds weird to say this music is so musical, but you run out of the words to say it. Like it's like you can watch the colors change as he's playing, and he's incredible, it influences me so much for like trying to solo to myself or whatever. So he's someone I would just love to meet and have a jam with one day. I love that because I would want to learn everything I can from him. Um, I but when you comes to someone who has all the packages, like Brad Paisley was one of them. I mean, Toby Keith unfortunately can't happen now, and it's very sad at his passing. I was shocked when I found out because I didn't. Yeah, it was. But Brad Paisley was one. Keith Urban would be a good one, just because he shreds too, and he has a very melodic way of doing things. And I loved his music growing up. Um. So when I think about who I'd want to work with more than anyone else, I don't think about anyone who's super new, right? I think I like for me, but John Mayer would be probably a big one because he got me into bluesy music through him, and then through him I learned about BB King and Albert King or any blues player. Like I was diving into and to get those sounds of a strat played at the neck position, just bluesy, and so he would be awesome. But yeah, I think the biggest. I mean, there's obviously lots of metal bands and stuff you could say, but honestly, Chris Stapleton's a big one. And I mean, Langley would be great. But I also like, some of the big ones like Morgan Wallen and Luke Combs. I mean, the thing about Morgan Wallen is he could release the alphabet tomorrow and you'd buy it. Just to see what how he did it. Like because he has an amazing voice. But I am a huge fan of the writing of Luke Combs. He did a whole. I mean, I've been very family themed lately with my music, and he put out a whole album called Fathers and Sons. That and to theme it on that about the relationship with your dad, the relationship with your kids, that whole full circle kind of moment where you're the father, they're the grandpa, those are your kids. Um, he has a very big diversity for writing, and so I would love. I mean, some people you would love to share a stage with, some people you would love to just write with as well. But Luke Combs would be up there as well.
Right on. That's awesome. So I am Rocky Mountain Live here, and I ask this to every single person I interview.
Okay.
What do you love most about performing live music?
Ah, it's. I mean, you. There's always been a performer in me a little bit. I think so. But it's a performing live music. It's. I think it's the same as like a comedian when they get a joke right, when they get a good laugh. Like you're. It's a full circle kind of. This is what I came here to do, and I succeeded at. Right? When you have a moment where people are giving back to you, or people really like your song, or the song finishes. Because sometimes, I play in a restaurant or something, like people aren't kicking the tables over; they're trying to finish the food. But it's just even getting a decent, like uplifted applause from the last song you did, just that feeling, it's kind of validating. But if it was in a big stage way, like if it was where it was lots of people and it was and with us on stage, it's you're getting to do your favorite thing and people love you for doing your favorite thing. That's what's great, I think. And so, yeah, you're playing on stage and yes, you're getting some feedback or good response from a crowd or whatever it be. But at the end of the day, like I remember George Carlin was like a comedian who said like, um, like he said like his idea of like key to happiness or whatever is being like having a purpose, which is a thing that you're good at and known for. I'm paraphrasing that a lot, but to check those three boxes is pretty amazing. And so when you're playing on stage, you're getting evidence of that you've done all.
Yeah.
And but you're like I said, like you're not the only person in the world loves music. All the people watching you do too. So when you are playing music that they enjoy, and you're getting like it's just that full circle of you're getting to do what you love to do more than anything else, and now someone's applauding you for that. That's pretty sick. Like like
Yeah.
that's great.
That is
So
pretty sick. I love asking that question because like it's always a different answer, but like kind of verse around the same stuff. And I just love how people put it.
yeah,
All right, so we're coming to the end here. I want to hear who you want to give shout outs to for their work in the local scene, whether that's Rocky Mountain or Western Canadian music scenes. Some people will help you out along the way that you just want to shout out right now.
yeah, okay, absolutely. I mean, Rock Mountain Live for sure.
Oh, thank you.
But I think any venue that I mean, if I really start at the beginning of like open mics and stuff, like Tommy's is the big one. We've said it already. Gary, of course. Um, um, I'd say his wife Lynn for how involved she is with the scene around here. Anywhere that it was, I mean, I remember Bruno's back in the day, but like is like it was all these anywhere that made music available for anyone to play it to start with, and then but any of the venues that choose to have live music while people are eating their food, any of the um, organizations that bring local people into the live scene is always appreciated because that doesn't always happen. Sometimes when a festival gets really big, sometimes they're looking outside of the area, and it's really appreciated when it's kept local. And so any bar, any restaurant, any place that has live music because you, you're helping each other. And to anyone on a selfish personal note here that thought that I should be heard more and helps me in that regard, I'm always going to be immensely grateful for. But I'd say I think it's the best way to sum it up. Honestly, like
No, that's great.
I'm grateful to Gary, to Tommy's, to 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 Rocky Mountain Outlook for covering a musical event or whatever it is, and and to everyone who's a part of that community too, because when you have a community to be a part of, you're not doing it on your own anymore. You're being encouraged by those same people, and there's been a lot of artists that have been really helpful in connecting me with certain people because they're involved and connected with those people. So like I said, like all like all I had to do is show up and do it, and 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 it's really to thanks to everybody else for why I was doing it. So yeah.
Right on, that's awesome. So you thank Rocky Mountain Live right there. So I like to ask people this at the end of our interviews is why do you think Rocky Mountain Live, the website, the social media platform, is an important thing to have in a region like this?
Well, it is because it's nice to have a hub for that community. It's nice to have something where it connects artists, but it also connects the public with those artists, it connects venues with those artists because there's a hub to look at it and see it with. Um, I think it's important in that way because you can have a Facebook group, right? You can have like a one of those kind of areas for people, but it's it's important for people to have a hub as artists and as and to be connected, and when it's in Rocky Mountain Live, it kind of validates you, it solidifies you as an artist, it makes you look professional, it makes you look like you're really taking this seriously. It's not just like it gets rid of the clutter. Like there's not some guy who thought he was gonna be a rapper one day and then a year later he isn't, and now he's like, no, like you got to keep up on it, like you got to keep up on it. He keeps, and then it makes it look more professional, and it makes and yeah, that's extremely important.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. So, yeah, thank you for joining me today at Melissa's Mistake. If you haven't checked out Melissa's before, come on down. They have live music every Friday and Saturday. They do DJ shows during the weekdays, often on Wednesdays. They got happy hour every day, 3 to 6. Happy hour prices 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., Thursday to Sunday. Sunday fun day with local DJs every weekend. Biggest breakfast in Banff. They got it all here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, come on down to Mel's and check it out sometime. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on all your success and the best for all your future success. I hope this year is that launch pad for you, and I think it will be. So, any upcoming shows that you want to let people know about as we head off here?
Yeah. Jeez, I gotta check her. The biggest thing I'll say is that so what I do is I have a website, and it's tylerwood.live. That is where I keep all my dates for the gigs I have. So if you're ever looking to come see me play, that is the place to go to. And I always update it every month. I always make sure at the beginning of the month it's updated with all the gigs I have through that month, so that you don't always have to, if you find out 2 days before Friday that I'm playing somewhere and you're busy, there is a website to check out that shows all the dates that are available. And so I would suggest the best thing you can do is to go and look at that, because I've had this out with my own friends a lot of the time where they want to come see me play, and it's like, well, tell us. I was like, I've got something that tells it. Like it's like, yeah, and this, if you can't make it that week, you've got the rest of the month to see. So
we also got something to tell you. We post all the same thing to our website.
Well, there you go. Exactly.
There's no reason to not come see a Tyler Wood.
Exactly. So yeah, on Rocky Mountain Live or on my website, it's available. So yeah.
We got all right. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time here. That was a lot of fun.
Cheers.
All right. See you later, folks.